The roar of 20 legacy. Moving from the production-based world of superbikes to the carbon fiber, prototype-driven universe of MotoGP is a transition that has broken many world champions. Yet as Toprak adjusted his leathers in the Prima Pramac Yamaha garage, the atmosphere was electric. He wasn't just representing a team, he was carrying the hopes of Turkey, a nation that viewed him as a sporting deity. The mission was simple: prove that a superbike specialist could tame the most sophisticated racing machine on the planet. But as the mechanics made their final adjustments, a subtle tension hung in the air. The Yamaha M1, once the sweetest handling bike on the grid, had become a temperamental beast in recent seasons. And in the high-stakes world of Grand Prix racing, even the smallest crack in the foundation can lead to a catastrophic collapse. No one inside the paddock expected what would unfold next. It wasn't just a technical failure. It was a moment that would change everything for him, his team, and the entire narrative of the season. The Circuit of the Americas is a brutal master. With 20 corners ranging from tight technical hairpins to high-speed flowing Ss, it demands everything from a rider's physical strength and a bike's electronic brain. For Toprak, however, this was supposed to be the perfect playground. His signature style, late aggressive braking that defies the laws of physics, seemed tailor-made for the heavy deceleration zones of turns 1 and 12. Throughout the practice sessions, the signs were more than just positive, they were staggering. Inside the Yamaha hospitality suite, the data scientists were smiling. Toprak was finding lines that veteran MotoGP riders hadn't even considered. He was aggressive, he was confident, and most importantly, he was fast. The American blueprint was working. The team had spent the entire week refining the setup, trying to blend Toprak's raw instinctive braking with the M1's requirement for high corner speed. By the time qualifying ended, the Turkish star felt he had a genuine chance to disrupt the established order. He wasn't there to make up the numbers, he was there to fight for the podium. But behind that calm expression, pressure was building fast. While the lap times looked competitive, Toprak was already beginning to sense a disconnect. A prototype motorcycle is a symphony of sensors, software, and mechanical hardware. If one instrument is out of tune, the whole performance falls apart. During the final warm-up, Toprak felt a slight hesitation in the engine's delivery, a momentary stutter that shouldn't have been there. He mentioned it to his crew chief, but the telemetry showed nothing out of the ordinary. They dismissed it as a ghost in the machine, a byproduct of the extreme Texas heat. It was a decision that would haunt them just a few hours later. The sprint race in MotoGP is a different animal. It is a frantic, no-holds-barred dash where strategy takes a backseat to raw aggression. When the starting lights went out at COTA, Toprak launched the Yamaha M1 into the first corner with the clinical precision of a veteran. He held his line, navigated the chaos of the pack, and settled into a rhythm that suggested he was destined for a top-5 finish. For the first few laps, the dream was alive. He was matching the pace of the leaders, his aggressive transitions through the S's looking like a masterclass in motorcycle control. But then the ghost returned. It started at the exit of turn 11, the long left-hander that leads onto the massive back straight. As Toprak twisted the throttle, expecting the violent surge of 300 horsepower, the bike hesitated. It was a choppy response, a jagged delivery of power that unsettled the chassis and sent a shiver through the rider's hands. At first, he thought it was a traction control intervention, perhaps a sensor reacting to a bump on the track. But as he entered the fast sections of the circuit, the problem didn't just persist, it evolved. The engine's usually aggressive and consistent response became unstable, pulsing with an erratic energy that made the bike feel less like a racing machine and more like a wild animal trying to throw its rider off. According to insiders, the frustration in the garage was immediate. On the monitors, the team could see Toprak's sector times plummeting. He was fighting the bike, his body language turning from fluid and aggressive to stiff and defensive. He was no longer racing his rivals, he was fighting a machine that had stopped speaking his language, and from that moment, nothing would ever be the same for his American debut. By lap 4, the situation had reached a critical state. Toprak found himself in a dangerous position. In MotoGP, if your power delivery is inconsistent, you become a moving target for the riders behind you. Entering turn 12, the hardest braking point on the track, Toprak experienced a terrifying moment. As he shifted down through the gears, the electronics failed to provide the necessary engine braking. The bike felt free, rushing toward the apex with a momentum he couldn't control. It was a high-speed incident narrowly avoided, a testament to his incredible reflexes. Inside the garage, whispers began spreading among the technicians. This wasn't a simple mechanical tweak or a bad tire choice. This was a deep-seated electronic malfunction. The bike's power output was no longer consistent, especially when exiting corners, which is the lifeblood of a Yamaha rider. Without that smooth exit, the M1 is a sitting duck on the straights. Toprak was losing seconds every lap, dropping through the field like a stone. The disappointment was visible even through his tinted visor. He had the pace, he had the talent, and he had the track, but he didn't have the tool. The technical tension reached a boiling point. The engineers watched the live telemetry, seeing error spikes that hadn't appeared once during the practice sessions. It was as if the heat and the intensity of the race had triggered a hidden flaw in the M1's complex wiring loom. For Toprak, the psychological pressure was immense. He knew the world was watching. He knew the critics were ready to say he couldn't hack it in MotoGP. But as the bike bucked and surged beneath him, he realized that continuing wasn't just a matter of pride. It was a matter of safety. A rider of Toprak's caliber never wants to quit. In the world of elite motorsports, the DNF did not finish is a mark of shame. But as he crossed the start-finish line for what would be his final lap, the Turkish rider made a crucial decision. The bike's responses had become so unpredictable that it was no longer safe to navigate the high-speed sections of the COTA track. The risk of a heavy setback, a high-speed high side, or a brake failure was too high to ignore. He pulled into the pit lane, the sound of his engine echoing hollowly against the garage walls. The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't yell, he didn't throw his gloves. He simply sat on the bike for a moment, staring at the dashboard as if searching for an explanation that wasn't there. The Turkish rider, previously known as a star who could win on anything, didn't hide his disappointment. He had been robbed of a chance to prove himself, not by a rival's overtake, but by a silicon chip and a pulse of electricity. The aftermath in the garage was clinical but tense. The Prima Pramac Yamaha technicians moved quickly to investigate, hooking the bike up to laptops before Toprak had even unzipped his leathers. They examined every component from the electronic control unit to the fuel injectors. The failure was sudden, unexpected, and beyond the rider's control. But the damage was done. The points were gone, and the momentum of his debut weekend had been shattered. Yet the real turning point happened away from the cameras, in the heated debrief that followed. As the sun began to set over the Texas hills, the story shifted from the track to the boardroom. Rumors began to surface about a rift between the satellite team and the factory engineers. Some claimed that the aggressive engine map Toprak requested to suit his braking style had pushed the Yamaha electronics beyond their designed limits. Others suggested that Yamaha was struggling with a fundamental flaw in their 2026 aero engine integration, a problem that was being masked by the talent of their riders until the extreme conditions of a race pushed it over the edge. Toprak remained professional in his media debriefs, emphasizing the team's hard work, but the frustration was bubbling just beneath the surface. He believed that when the motorcycle is operating normally, he can deliver a much more competitive performance. But in the world of MotoGP, normal is a moving target. The Japanese manufacturer was now facing a serious concern. If their most promising new talent couldn't trust the bike for a short sprint race, how could they hope to compete over a full season? The incident in Austin wasn't just a bad race result. It was a blow to Yamaha's recovery project. Every point is crucial in the race for the standings, and every failure adds weight to the narrative that the M1 is a bike in decline. Toprak is trying to remain positive, looking toward the main race, but the Paddock Whispers aren't so easily silenced. Some insiders claim that something felt off in the relationship between the rider's management and the team's technical directors. What happened after that left even his closest team members stunned. As the technicians worked through the night to rebuild the bike, a new discovery was made, one that suggested the technical failure wasn't an accident, but a symptom of a much larger, more systemic issue within the garage. But what the Paddock discovered next shocked everyone, and it threatened to end Toprak's MotoGP dream before it had truly begun.